Welcome to Let's Get Dumb, the podcast where I, comedian Joe Kilgallon, and comedian Jonah Jurkens, like to ask dumb questions, tell dumb stories, and just have a dumb old time with you. But I have to start off with a big old but. This episode will be different. It's not so much Let's Get Dumb. It's Let's Honor a Friend.
Yeah.
Jonah and I both, not us, but like anyone who's ever met this man lost someone. The world lost. Stand-up comedy definitely lost. We're talking about, God, it's so weird to say this in past tense, but the late, great Kenny DeForest.
Yeah.
And if you're a comedy fan at all and you listen to this podcast, I'm sure you've heard Kenny DeForest passed away this past Wednesday. What was the date? December 13th, I believe it was. Is that the date? And it's just kind of ripped a hole through so many of our close friends. And, you know, Jonah and I have been banged up about it. I've been banged up about it. It's been rough. The guy was, so we're kind of going to just do like a little mini episode to kind of talk about him, cause he deserves that much. I
think to promote the life of Kenny and
Yes.
also to promote, like, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you support Joe and I, and not only that, if you find us to be even remotely funny, like look up Kenny DeForest because he's such an incredible comedian and
so good.
I'm so
Great.
happy that I think one of the best things that this isn't nothing good that is going to come out of this, but like it's nice to see, and it's nice that Kenny has so much that you can live through him by or live whatever.
Well, I mean, he would want us to, get out of the, rut or whatever word I'm looking for here. Cause
he just has so much content online that you can just really admire who Kenny was as a person.
We could not emphasize and encourage you all enough listening right now. Pause this episode and go YouTube Kenny DeForest. He's had great late night sets, Comedy Central sets. His special that came out like not even that long ago, 4 or 5 months ago. You could stream that on YouTube. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The opening song, wow, did he fucking nail that choice? And Kenny knew music. Kenny was one of those guys that like, I like music, but I'm always suspect of new music. I don't know, because I think I'm like an old soul like that. But Kenny's one of a handful of people.
Yeah, you're an old soul that loves Oasis.
Yeah. Old soul in the sense that like I like what I liked and I don't have room for anything new.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I do let new music come in. But Kenny was one of those guys that when he would talk about music, you knew you believed him and you had a passion behind it. So you're like, oh yeah, this must be good. And the song, real quick, everyone, it's Charlie Crockett, I'm Just a Clown.
Right. Great song.
And fucking amazing song and good artist. I listen to all his other stuff, but I've been listening to that song on a loop.
Did you know of this artist before?
No,
Really?
not all before.
Yeah,
And
really good.
Really good.
Great music.
I heard him. I follow him on Instagram now.
Yeah.
I heard, when the special came out, I watched it and I listened. And it's the opening track, It starts off with Kenny playing basketball and then he stops playing basketball to go do a special.
Yeah.
And he's walking to that song and it looks great. And our friend James Webb directed it. So, it's good. But Kenny's good. He's just, but yeah, Charlie Crockett is the artist. Everyone, so check him out. I follow him on Instagram now. I was surprised he wasn't bigger because he should be bigger.
It's pretty big. I mean, I knew about him before. That's the thing too. It's like, another great thank you for bringing this up. It's like, what I did, because I knew Kenny had such a great taste in music that I never did. Because like, on Spotify, you have a lot of friends. Kenny's a friend of mine on Spotify. And I actually was like, oh, I wonder if he made any playlists public. And he did. So he has all these playlists that he made public. Some are just a few songs, but there's some that are on there. If you're on Spotify, like also search for Kenny DeForest, not as an artist, but just as like a person you can follow, and just go to his. He had great taste in hip hop too, and
Definitely.
I've been listening, since he originally got injured. I've been listening to that.
I'm reminding myself of this when people. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but you ever meet someone when you're like, what kind of music do you listen to? And they say everything. And then you find out their everything is kind of shit. Like it's not good. He listened to everything and it's good.
Yeah.
Like legitimately good. And I haven't been on Spotify in like 3 years, but I remember when I was on it, I followed Kenny as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely want to, it's now making me want to open up Spotify again.
Yeah, you should.
Spotify sucks, actually, to be honest with you.
No, it's great. You should try it out. And like, if you go to,
I had it. It was terrible. That's why I switched.
Oh, dude,
if you go to their artists like dog shit.
Oh, if you go to Spotify.com/Kenny is dead, you do get 10% off of next month.
Yeah,
which is like really important.
Yeah, he would appreciate that bit.
Yeah. Everyone that I've heard speak of Kenny and everyone just remembers the first time they met him. He's just one of those guys you just always remember when you met him. Like I have a lot of friends. Like, I don't remember the first time I met you specifically. I remember the first time I saw you, but I don't think the first time like you and I like hung out, or like a lot of my friends.
I still don't know you. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, do we ever know each other?
Do we really?
Yeah. But what I'm saying, he's just like one of those guys. For some reason, you just remember the first time you met him. I don't know why that is with him.
Yeah, I do. I remember it was outside of Chicago Joe's, which isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
This cool little bar/restaurant on the north side of Chicago that Lisa Traeger and Renee Schultz and Lauren Vino ran a show called Riot Comedy. And I remember meeting him outside of there, and just, it was just a fucking great guy. It was just, all of this happened quickly and out of nowhere. And it fucking hurts, man, because people like that you're just always happy to see, always light up the room when they walk in. I hate to say it, but sometimes you do take those people for granted in a sense.
For sure.
And, I'm not going to try to play off that, because we have friends of ours who would go on annual vacations with him, and we can talk about that in a second. But I only talked to Kenny like maybe 3 or 4 times in the past year. We hit each other up every few months or so, like a text here or there. But, he was living in New York, then LA, and then he's back to New York. And but for a good 4 years there in Chicago, 2009 to 2013, we did a lot of shit together.
Yeah.
And just, it's been taking me back to those days. I think it's natural to get nostalgic when, a good friend of yours passes away, someone who meant so much to so many people. I mean, the public support has been just off the charts. And I hope you don't mind me bringing this up. I probably should have talked about this before the podcast with you. Remember so just to give the timeline, everybody, that's what I meant to get into. It was Friday evening in New York.
I want to be like easy counselor.
No. It's gonna be fine.
Easy.
He was in an e-bike accident, and then it kind of went public where the posts were like Sunday morning telling everyone he had to have surgery because his accident was pretty bad, where to alleviate pressure on his brain, they take a piece of his skull out because there's a brain bleed, so they alleviate pressure. They do that operation, which is major. And they started a GoFundMe. Good dude who I don't really know, but Ryan Beck started it. But anyway, so there people were like sharing the post, being like, "Hey, we got to raise money." I was texting some from New York friends, trying to get updates, and it seemed like, okay, look, this is serious, so it's critical, but we think he'll come through. There wasn't the notion of, he's knocking on heaven's door.
To me, it was more like, oh man, that sucks. Like his poor, like that sucks. His medical bills are going to be so high.
Yeah.
It was all like, oh, he's fine. Like he's going to make it.
Yeah,
like we're not worried about that. It's just like, oh man, that's just like, that sucks. That happened to him.
We're going to need money for wildly expensive medical bills, because that's unfortunately what happens in this country with that kind of shit. And then
people are talking about the recovery, and you're like, Kenny's got that. That's easy. That's no problem.
Yeah, I mean, he's a dude who fucking has insane determination, which you have to be a stand-up comedian, and a fucking college basketball player. He's a very, very good college basketball player, a very good high school basketball player. So he wanted to be an athlete. So he's got that work ethic of, you got to practice to be good at something. So yeah, like there was a lot like Kenny's going to pull through, but yeah, we all need to rally up support for him. And where I'm going with this is, we saw all of his closest friends, obviously, people who can't give much money at all were showing up giving money, and it was this big thing. But you told me, because we talked about it Monday, a couple days before he actually passed, because he passed away on Wednesday, everybody, of last week. And you and Fernandez made such a good point. I really wanted this for him, and I'm sure, I want to believe he knows, where you said, or Joe Fernandez was a great friend of ours, who's a great friend of Kenny's too.
Joe said this. Yeah, I know you're
you know I'm going with
yeah,
this, right?
Yeah.
Where Joe said, when he comes out of this, he's going to be able to see almost what it was like if he would die. Because when you die, everyone shows up and says all these great things about you, and everyone makes these beautiful posts, and they're like, what a great guy, and all this kind of stuff. But you're dead, so But Joe Fernandez brought this point up to you, and you talked about it with me. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's going to be such a great thing, where he's going to come out of this and then be able to read all this and see how everyone raised over $150,000 for him, and everyone came through for him, and nobody even hesitated. Like, Kenny needs something, fucking there. Yeah. Like, because we know that if any of us need anything, Kenny would be there for us. So without a doubt, it was easy for everybody. Like, it's an incredible how many people he touched. But so that's part of the
I would say that Joe was
thing.
more jealous
Was he
about it.
jealous of
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean,
he
at the
was
time,
like,
look, we're comedians. We're going to make jokes about
Yeah,
dark
you're gonna make
times.
jokes,
That's just,
yeah.
and you have to, because sadly, in this game, I don't know, I'm calling it a game, but like in the world of stand-up comedy, I think this is probably just true of the arts in general. It's just so much tragedy. It
Yeah.
feels like every year we have
Oh, yeah.
someone die and it breaks
Yeah.
our hearts. You had it with Dan Ronan almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, another comedian here in Chicago passed
Another
away.
awesome comedian in Chicago who I saw sneaking into comedy clubs because he was underage. That's how much he
Right.
loved comedy, and what a great fucking guy. It's weird calling him guy because in my brain I'm like, he's a kid,
Yeah.
great kid. Dan Ronan was a kid. He was 24, and he was buddies with Kenny too. And then, Samantha Berkman, we lost a couple of years ago. Dave Metz. There's just, it's such a long list. It would take up a long time. And it's, because there's this bond we all have as comedians where we're just going through the same thing. We laugh together. And I feel like laughing together is just such a special thing. I produced a show with Kenny for a while. So you share that anxiety of people going to show up to the show tonight. Just, the excitement you get putting on a show when the show's successful, that victory, fucking sips of alcohol you share together afterwards.
I mean, like Ken and I moved to Chicago around the same time, and I met him outside of comedy, and he basically, I just met him. He was explaining he moved here to become a comedian, and I was like, oh, that's what I'm here for. And then we have that kind of like that anxiety, like, what is this thing? I don't know what this is or anything. My connection with Kenny was like we kind of had that connection a little bit, and we kind of talked. We never really hung out a lot at that time, and then I quit stand up for a year, something like that. And I was just strictly doing like other forms of comedy. So I was doing an improv sketch. And then he messaged me one day and was just like, hey man, I got a spot open. You want to take it at this show that he ran? And I was like, I don't know. It's been a while. And he's just like, you got it. He's like, you got to do it. Just do it. Take it. And I was in Wisconsin. I'm like, yeah, I'll drive down. And because I was visiting a friend, and I drove down and I did it. And I was like, that's what I'm missing. That.
Yeah.
So if you hate the podcast, it's all Kenny's fault. That's because I'm sitting here because of him. I wouldn't have followed stand up. It wasn't for Kenny's the reason I'm doing stand up.
And so many people like that too.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a heart to heart with that dude. Just me and him, 45 minutes in a pool. We're at Megan Gailey and CJ Toledano's wedding in Palm Springs. This is December of 2019, almost exactly 4 years ago, because 2 days afterwards, poor Megan and CJ were like, it feels weird celebrating our anniversary, given, how heartbroken we are over a good friend. I remember the night before the wedding was a Saturday, that Friday night, everyone's at the pool, late night, 1 a.m. in this pool. And at one point I remember being like, oh fuck, everyone's in the hot tub now. Me and you are the only two in the pool now.
Yeah.
We're just so deep. He is a guy you could talk about anything with. And I know when people die, there's always that people come out of the woodworks going I'm not saying people are lying about their friends who pass away or whatever, but I feel like we are underselling what a fucking remarkable person this was, in the sense that it's one of those things where if I remember hearing someone say this once about dogs, where it's like, if my dog doesn't like you, then you're probably a piece of shit.
Oh, I see
if
that.
Kenny doesn't like you, you're probably a piece of shit.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Or if you don't like Kenny,
Yeah.
if I met someone who was like, fuck Kenny DeForest, I'd be like, oh no, you're the piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because he's Kenny DeForest.
Right.
Who the fuck are you?
Right.
Even if it was someone who I'd known for a while and I thought I liked.
Yeah.
If I thought oh, this guy's awesome, he's great, and I heard that, I'd be like, "No, you're out.
Yeah.
You're gone." Because that's how you're a bad judge of character.
Yeah. Last time I saw Kenny, I was in a wedding. I was in New York for a wedding, and we all hung out at a bar, and I haven't seen Kenny in a while. And then, he's all hugs and just oh my God, he made you feel like you're the center of the universe. But not only that, I bring my girlfriend, she's meeting all of my New York friends kind of for the first time, really, for the most part, this amount of group. And he basically when he talks to her, he's talking to her. He's not you could tell he's all about what this person in front of me has to say. And even we walked away, and then she was just like, man, that guy Kenny's great. And I was like, yeah, I know. He's just he has this energy. You're just man, that guy's just a one of a kind for sure.
It really, he treated comedians who were 1 year in the same way he treated comedians who were 10 years in.
Yeah.
And again, your girlfriend, never met her, made her feel welcome. Made
So
everyone
welcome.
feel welcome.
She was just I'm setting that guy up with everybody I know. And I was yeah.
Fuck yeah.
100%.
And that's
I was
the
like,
thing.
he is a comedian though. I don't know if you want to deal with that.
Yeah, seriously.
And she's like, you
We
guys
are-
are fucking nightmares.
yeah, we are
And I was
still
like, what do you mean we're
fucking
nightmares? We're going to do a a podcast about our dead friend. I think that's
we are good human beings, damn it. But it helps to talk about this. It helps to get together with everybody.
What do you mean we're bad people? I went through all the people that donated on Kenny's whatever, and I judged them for how much they donated. That's okay. Did you do that? I was like, oh my God. I was like, this famous person donated? I'm like, you have more money than
I don't
that,
have
brother.
a lot of money. So, but
Some people I judged. I mean, most people didn't.
I donated. But I do remember I didn't do that. I didn't go through everybody.
Oh, I went through everybody.
But I did kind of check for a couple. I kind of did a couple scrolls, and I saw like, oh, he donated that much. I know he probably has more money than me.
Yeah.
He's a little more successful than me as far as stand-up goes.
You got 10 extra
and
bucks,
so I'm
brother.
like, I'll match that person.
Yeah.
And I'll look good.
You good.
Because I'm matching someone who should probably be up a little more.
Someone did $38. I was like, you have 40. Like
I
you
saw
have
the $38 one.
I was like,
you have 38 and
you have
GoFundMe.
$40. You have $40. You have $40.
The only reason
if you have $38 and you don't have 40, don't donate $38. That's all your money.
30 would be more respectable.
Yeah.
In a weird way.
Yeah,
Correct?
yeah.
I think in my head.
Yeah, I donated $42.50.
I was scratching my head about that, being like, why the fuck was it $38? And then I came to the conclusion that when you donate through GoFundMe, there's like a kind of a tax on it, right?
No, you can tip on it.
A tip. You could tip on it.
But it's tipped to that doesn't add on that though. I thought about that too.
Okay, because in my head, I'm like, is that why they did that? Because maybe they wanted to give 40, so they did $2 for tip and then 38 to the thing.
You know what the tip goes to? Just goes to
Was
GoFundMe.
Kenny's jersey number 38 and we just didn't know it? I don't think it was.
Oh,
Is there
that's a good
meaning?
point. No, what if that really meant a
now.
lot to them?
Oh, fuck. Maybe there was like a symbolism there.
Dude, I don't know if I told you this story. We had... So one of the last times I saw you, we all were kind of together,
Yeah, so let me
remembering
just show this or tell everyone this, and because I want people who are listening, if this happens to you, and I hope it doesn't, it helps so much to get together with everybody. Why did you give me a look? What the fuck?
I thought you meant like if this helps. I thought you meant like.
No, I'm saying because you're about to talk about the last time we saw each other. We all got together.
No. I thought you meant like this happens to you. Like if you die, like let me give you advice.
Yeah,
like,
if you die, make sure you do this. No, we all got to. So it happened Wednesday morning. Wednesday evening, a big group of us got together. All the comedians who came up with Kenny, who not even just came up with, but knew him and were hurting by this.
Yeah.
We all got together at a Chicago dive bar, which I feel like Kenny would have loved. And just kind of like a lot of, there was tears and there was laughter and there was just, celebration. We toasted him. We did lots of shots. Mm-hmm. We drank, we remembered stuff. Anyway, so that's what you were saying last time we got together, and I knew you were going to talk about that night. Yeah. I just wanted to let everyone know what that night was.
Right. I'm sorry, I missed it. Like for some reason, the way that you worded that, I was just like, okay, like I didn't mean to. So that morning, when okay, so I don't know how you are with your friend groups. I don't know if I've explained this in other friend groups. I'm like, how I am with everybody. It's like, I'm part of the group, but I'm like the farthest outside of it. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's an M&M, I'm the shell. I'm not the chocolate inside. I'm the last one. I'm the last one added to a group chat.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
So I always get
some of that might be in your head though. Well, I feel like I'm in a few group chats where you're like you are inside the shell. Some of the group chats.
Yeah, but I'm saying like
part of
it's because I'm just bad at keeping up with people, which is going to come into maybe play later with Kenny because that's a regret I have. Also, like if anybody here has been like, if you're listening and you're just like, this is reminding you of a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, fucking text them now.
Text them.
Yeah. Just say hi. That's all they need. But so, it's a rough couple days. Kenny's taking a turn for the worse. I'm kind of hearing because we were getting updates. Just because like
from a lot of our friends in New York.
I would consider myself a friend of Kenny's, but I wouldn't consider myself like a very close friend of Kenny. And so a friend that is part of that. I get a text that morning, and we all kind of know Kenny's not doing well, and it's a group text to the two of us, me and another friend, and he's just like, "Hey," I'm not gonna say any names because I don't know. So he just goes, "Hey, you two need to call me." And then of course my first thought was like, "Why would you text both of us?" Because now if he doesn't answer, that means he took the other person's phone call over mine, and now I know who's more important. Do you know what I mean? Also,
or they called first.
Yeah. But also it's like, it's like, I know what that means.
Yeah.
Right. I took a second to like call because I was like kind of getting, my wits together. And then of course the other person, because he's smarter, group messaged us like in a FaceTime.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we all can talk together. So I'm like, yeah, that person's smarter than the other person. But I missed it because I was like getting myself together. So then I didn't know you can join later. So I joined later, and I must have joined 20 seconds after the news was given. So I joined, and I just am watching my friend cry because he heard the news, and I can hear my other friend telling him the news, right? Yeah. But I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm figuring out what's going on, so I'm getting the news kind of like whatever, but like I'm in a position where I can't be like, hey, Jurkens is on the call. Keep me up to date. You know what I mean? I can't
sure.
So I'm sitting there quiet.
Awkward.
I'm sitting there quiet, and I'm crying because I'm like watching my friend. I hate seeing my friends cry. So I'm like watching my friend cry, and it's just like, when do I chime in? Like, how do I can't be like, go, I'm here. You know, like,
yeah.
You know, and then the person that like originally did the text was just like, okay, like I'll let you go. I'll call Jonah. And then the other person's like, I think he might be on the call. And I was like, yeah, I'm here. I've been here just about the whole time. And
you're a smooth operator, Jonah.
Yeah. I was like, I was almost going to be like, what'd I miss? Like, you know, like, how's everything going? It's just like that weird, like, it's one of those moments where you're like, the three of us are going to laugh about this for probably the rest of our lives. Cause it's like this weird, I thought you were going to think that was funnier than
No,
what
I
it was.
did. I was just, you know, it's not belly laugh funny.
It's just that awkward. It's just like, it was just that awkward where you're like, no, I mean, you can't not laugh about this.
I've been one of those people that the scenario is funny. I hope he doesn't mind us saying this, but Joe Fernandez, he already talked about it online. He was getting all the updates while he was shooting a Wendy's commercial.
Yeah.
And so he was a wreck, you know, he's in tears and it's just, let me go back to something you said about like, you know, texting your friends and stuff like that.
Can I add to Joe?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So Joe has very dark humor, and him and I have dark humor. And then sometimes, you know, I knew that it was going to hit him kind of the worst. You know, you just know the group that's going to hit hard.
Yeah,
right?
of our friends in Chicago, of course.
Yeah. And like, you know, he's a very close friend of mine. He's been a close friend for a long time. So I just wanted to like message like, I'm there for you, but like in a Joe type of way. So then I messaged him and I was like, hey, I don't know about the timing about this question, but like we do get our money back, right?
From the GoFundMe.
From the GoFundMe. I mean, and I was like, I mean, there's got to be like a clause in there.
Yeah.
Where like, I mean, half is fine. Like, there's that. And then he texted me back just being like, I laughed so hard out loud. I needed that.
There's always moments that comedians do really well. And I think my all-time favorite, it was at Dan Ronan's funeral of Marty DeRosa walking up to everyone. People, they're in line to see the casket, you know, or to see the coffin of Dan. And, you know, Catholic, you know, boy. So that whole tradition of that. And Marty DeRosa walking up to everyone going, does anyone know the Wi-Fi password?
Yeah.
He's got the Wi-Fi, but like just to break the tension and make everyone laugh their ass off.
Dude, Marty had so many fun jokes during that death.
It's good to have people like that around.
I was with him the whole time, Marty, and like we were walking out of the, you know, whatever, and that's how great the support is in the comic community. There's a line down the block, right?
Yeah.
And someone just like goes, like, we're outside, and someone goes to Marty, and they're like, "Hi, how is it in there? Like, you know, like, what's going on in there?" And Marty just looks at me and goes, "Dude, it's fucking great. I'm getting back in line."
Yeah.
And then
it was so good. I want to do it again.
Yeah.
Too funny. But you know, you mentioned getting the phone call and the text. I was texting with a friend of ours in New York, Tommy McNamara, just to try to get updates to see how it was going. And then, you know, things took a bad turn Monday morning. Like, you know, he got a report that Kenny's heart stopped and all that. And it's like, oh fuck, you know, and then, it's like, but you know, they got his heart going again. So, you know, just good thoughts. Kenny's tough. He'll rally. So it's like, all right. And then, Tuesday, you get a phone call.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we live in such a society now, which I prefer. I prefer texting. I always tell people text me. But you know, when you get a phone call that you're like, fuck, something bad's.
Yeah, you just know. Call. Or the text, like, you need to call me. Text is like.
You need to call me. Text is bad. Or just seeing, knowing what was going on. So when I saw Fernandez's number, my phone ringing, it was him. I'm like, shit, I don't want to answer this. But, yeah, you know, so definitely, as Jonah said, there's someone you haven't talked to in a while, and I've already texted like 35, 40 people. I got another 35, 40 people to go to. Text your friends. Like, you know, I spent a lot of the day of and the next day, texting so many people I haven't seen in a while. And another thing that's sad about comedy, about being a comedian, is the people you come up with who you have just this unshakable bond with. And there's so many fucking fun times because you're first. And that's why I get annoyed when I meet young comedians who I could tell aren't having fun. I'm like, you're fucking 3-4 years in, you're not enjoying this shit.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a long fucking agony or, agonizing road ahead of you if this is how you feel this fucking early on.
Yeah.
Because the first, 5 years are the most fun because there's no expectations, right? You're all in the same boat, essentially. You're rooting for each other's success. You're looking at like, fuck yeah, this guy's making it. This woman's making it. We're all going to fucking make it. This is going to be great. And by the way, making it is different by anyone else's definition. Right. You know what I mean? Someone like Kenny DeForest wasn't selling out arenas, but that he fucking made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, so you look at that, all those people you just were, you fucking love them. They're your family. And I remember being like 4 years in, realizing at some party, I'm like, it's crazy. The more successful we're all going to get, the less we're going to see evolve each other.
Yeah.
And that's the fucking sad. That's sad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you work at a company, the more successful you get, you're still going to see, you might become your friend's boss, but you're going to see them. They're going to be around.
Right.
But in this, in stand-up comedy, because you have, half of our friends moved to LA, half moved to New York. Some of us stayed here, some went to LA and came back here.
Yeah.
It's like,
more die.
And more die. Yeah. It's, it all together fucking sucks. But definitely, if you take anything from this episode, tell the people you love that you fucking love them to their face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that for you, but for other people,
I know.
I will do.
Hey, Joe, look at me. I know.
Hey, Jonah,
look
at me. I love you.
I love you.
It took a lot for me to do that.
I know.
It did.
It took even more for you to stop looking at the ground, look at my eyes when you said it, and it meant a lot to me.
Looking at your eyes troubles me sometimes.
Why?
Because I feel like one's dead.
You think one of my eyes is dead?
You have a dead eye.
I don't have a dead eye.
And the other eye has some life, and the other eye is longing for something more.
No, I'm dead inside, and that's what you're seeing. Yeah, that's in both eyes, my friend.
Around.
Yeah.
Oh man, but and not to make this all dark because we've got so many great Kenny stories we could share and everything. We just wanted to. It felt weird to not pay tribute to him. I have been, and look, that. He was so tight with so many fucking people.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he was like everyone's best friend. That was the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
And
go through that. Go through the GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And like, there's some names in there. I'm like, the famous person then?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, damn. And I was like, that's all you donated?
Oh yeah, you're
that's
hyped
all
on
you
that
donated?
money, aren't you? Still.
Yeah.
But fucking Clark Jones, Will Miles, they ran Knitting Factory together, and my heart goes out to those.
Which is
guys.
a very famous show in Brooklyn.
Very famous show in Brooklyn that ran for a long time. They took over from Hannibal Buress. Hannibal Buress is, one of the greatest comedians of the last 25 years. Gave them the keys. That shows you how much he trusted Kenny and Will and Clark. And then they had this boys trip they would go on. It was David Drake, Elaine Pichelle, Joe Fernandez, Cameron Gillette, Simmons McDavid, Soreen Choksey. Everyone I just named are people who are fucking awesome. Just
and all comedians you can check out.
All comedians you could check out. Everyone I just named, like the best people. I hope I didn't forget any names. Aaron Weaver. Yeah, I almost forgot Aaron Weaver, who's a fucking awesome friend of mine. I don't know if Floyd went on some of those trips. Good old Floyd. But anyway, so those dudes, and this is I'm bringing these trips up in general because I remember talking to Aaron Weaver when they got back from the first one they ever did. And I was talking to Weaver. I'm like, dude, I'm not an outdoorsy guy at all.
Yeah.
Like the idea of going camping or like fucking hiking in Colorado, because they would go to different locations, but it was always scenic places. They'd go to like national parks and stuff. And I'm like, none of that would normally appeal to me at all. Mm-hmm. But seeing all of you fuckers
with
the fucking big smiles on your face and the laughter, and I know how funny all of you guys are, and seeing all of that. I remember telling him after their first trip or their first couple trips, being like, I'm jealous. I want to go on one of those, but I feel like I'm wedging my way in. You know what I mean? Because that's like their special thing, because they're all like those type of dudes, hunters who want to like do psychedelics and have a great time. And that shows how strong that group was. Yeah,
it's amazing to have like that's one of the things I went up to Joe again, who's part of that group, and I went up to him and I said I gave my condolences and I said, I'm always there for you, and I just want to, and I was like, I just want you to know that there's a silver lining in everything. And for me, the silver lining in this is that there's an opening spot for your trip, and I'm willing to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, you're not invited. And I go, I figured that.
Yeah. I imagine they will. I haven't talked to them about, I've talked to them, but I haven't talked to them about their boys trip. I hope they keep that going.
They have to. They have to. Yeah.
And just, you know,
never let a tradition die just because somebody else did.
Raise a glass to him, or raise whatever their mushroom tea or whatever they drink out on those things are, to Kenny, and to keep it going for him. Because that's a dude too, where I'm like, yeah, he bought a lot of hats. You know what I mean? He had a good fashion sense. I think he had a great fashion sense. Every time I saw Kenny, I remember being like, motherfucker looks good and comfortable, which is big. But those dudes that, you know, spend money on experience, like spend your money on experiences, like, because those dudes get to have those memories forever. And I know they're broken up about it. And this first one's going to suck. It's like, you know, when I lost my father, and I still think about him every day, and it still sucks and it's hard. And, and
what
I'm
was
sure you
your,
had that too.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the biggest tradition you and your dad had?
Oh, a lot. We had just a lot, but
the biggest comes to mind.
I'll tell you what, the biggest traditions were like Thanksgiving and Christmas, of course. And you know, the holidays will never be the same and all that. But, really, because then you start to realize it's like your biggest tradition with someone can often be something that you don't even realize is the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And big tradition with my dad is whatever was happening in the news. I would get excited. Like when something crazy would go down in the world, I'd be like, oh, cool. I can't wait to go talk to my dad about this.
Yeah.
And I'd go over to the house, my parents' house, and just be like, you see what happened to so-and-so? And he's like, yeah, what a fucking idiot. And then we just go into like conversation about it. And I'd always just laugh and be like, this is great. And you know, just those moments were just so enjoyable. You know,
do you still get like
how
that?
Terrible. What's that?
So
that void's gone. I have no one that replaces that.
I've never, right? No.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is
replaced,
like, what I'm asking you is like, do you still find yourself in those moments be like, can't wait to talk to dad about this? Not
yeah,
sad,
I mean,
but...
the first, you know, it was, the instinct was can't wait to talk. And then you get sad because you're like, well, I can't.
Yeah.
But now I have the moments, when those moments strike, they still strike me. I think about him immediately.
He still lives in that.
He still lives there. Yeah. That's how people like live on. I mean, what, you know, not to get into religion or whatever you believe, afterlife, don't believe in afterlife, whatever it is. I do believe, regardless of if you believe in afterlife or if you don't, if you keep those people's memories going, then they do live on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why, like, Comedians You Should Know, a show that Jonah is a bigger producer of than I am now, but I was a founder of, we're both part of. I wanted to give you more respect because you actually move chairs around and help set up the show, where I just show up and kill. That's my fucking job. If you follow Comedians You Should Know on Instagram, they've been posting Kenny DeForest clips. And anytime you share a clip, like say you share 10 clips, $10 will be donated to Kenny's memorial fund.
Yeah.
It's capped at $2,000 because otherwise you're going to bleed the show dry. But that's still wildly generous.
Independent show.
It's an independent show that probably has only about 4,000. So about 50% of the revenue or the bank account. But that's the thing. And I like the hashtag I've seen some people use where it's Kenny DeForest forever, because fuck yeah. And same with Samantha Berkman and Dan Ronan and everyone else and anyone who's ever touched you, regardless if they're a comedian or not. Keep the fucking memory going, you know? Because we were talking about before the podcast started, life is fragile and it's short and it's wildly, wildly unfucking fair. But yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah, I mean, we could keep going and telling story after story, but I think we wanted to make this one just like a short mini pod.
It's
to just
like 45, I think.
How long are we in?
30.
All right. Yeah. Let's do
3 hours. Dude.
Let's do about 3 hours, man. Well, on my other podcast, I was going to get more in depth about some personal stories I had with Kenny. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say other than Kenny DeForest was the best. I said this in my post on Instagram that I said, you know, great person or great comedian, even better person. And that gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
But in his case, 100% true.
Yeah.
And it is rare to find someone who's like that. I think that's rare.
Yeah.
I really do believe that. There's maybe a handful of people I've ever come across in stand-up comedy. People who are my best friends I want to put in that camp.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've got like legitly people who are like, that I was closer to with Kenny that I would not say that I think Kenny's a better person than them.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? Like a million times better person.
We mentioned the name Dan Ronan. Dan Ronan was a piece of shit. I mean, he was like, I mean, I love the man. He's so great. But like, you know, Kenny Kenny's just one of those guys. I do want to share this quick story.
Go ahead, yeah.
Because it just struck my head. So Kenny DeForest, last time I saw him, he was doing a show at a place called Bar Bayou, which is like, like kind of a jazz, like New Orleans themed bar, obviously.
Was it in New Orleans or was it in New York?
It was in New York.
New York, cool.
And it was a cool bar. If the show's still going past Kenny, I hope it does, and please support it because it was a really fun show. And we were talking with Tom Takar, who's a comedian in LA now, who's friends with all of us and stuff. And also incredible comedian, check him out. But so when we were at the bar, when Kenny was telling us about the show, I hear Bayou. Tom Takar hears it's at a bar Bayou.
Oh, Bayou. Near you.
Yeah. So we were like, hey, where are you coming? Are you coming? And he goes, where is this bar? And then we sent him the address, and he was in a different borough. And he goes, that's not fucking by me at all. That's somewhere like the whole like, no, it's not bar Bayou, it's bar Bayou. Like, what the fuck is wrong? Like
down
it's
on
just
the
like
bayou.
He goes, by me. That's fucking so far away. Like the whole like.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. That's like kind of my last memory with Kenny, and I was just laughing about that.
I mean,
Bar Bayou. It's nowhere fucking near me. That's what it was. He goes, bar me. It's nowhere fucking near me. Yeah.
I'm just laughing to myself right now because I was thinking about Kenny's reaction to that. He had such great facial expressions too. Fuck. I'll tell this story real quick and then we'll wrap this up. I was doing this club called the Comedy Catch in Chattanooga. And at this might have been like 2011, 2012, I want to say. And Kenny was doing, he was opening or featuring for Mike Stanley, who's another friend of ours, at a different club in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the same weekend. And so I said to them, I remember hitting up Kenny and Mike going, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we, to save money on carpool, we're going to drive down separately. Because my shows were Thursday through Sunday. They were just Friday, Saturday. I'm like, we all drive down together Thursday. You guys, I'll get extra beds. We'll crash in my hotel room Thursday, partied up a little bit. You do your shows Friday, Saturday. I do my shows Friday, Saturday. I'll see if I can get you guest spots on either Thursday or Sunday. And I did. I got them guest spots at the club, which was cool. And we'll have a fucking great time driving down there together. And we did. The only thing is, and Mike Stanley, if you're listening to this, I love you. But in retrospect, you have to admit this was a fucking insane move you did. Mike Stanley decides to adopt a 1-year-old Great Dane while we're in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he lived at the time in a small, I want to say studio, but 1-bedroom apartment in Chicago with no like backyard situation at all. And I mentioned this because it's a 1-year-old Great Dane, right? I mean, it's a horse, right? And it's going to be horse size. And so we had to drive back, and that's a 10-hour drive from Chattanooga to Chicago. Yeah, with Kenny's truck, me, Kenny, Stanley, and a fucking Great Dane. It's insane. And the number of times he'd be like, I think we got to pull over again for this dog. These dogs shit a lot, huh? Yeah. And every time Kenny
these dogs shit a lot, huh?
I'd hear Mike being like, we got to pull over again, I think. And you just hear Kenny flick the turn signal on and then just give me a glance like, this fucking moron. Yeah. And Kenny was great though, because Kenny was like, loves dogs. So he was like having fun with the dog and stuff like that. And I think at the time Kenny was about to move in with Stanley to be his roommate, because they did live together for a while. Yeah. And Kenny was like, all right, I've adopted a Great Dane too, apparently. But we had a great time.
It's our son.
We went to a party down there. So Chattanooga is like almost on the border of Tennessee and Georgia. And there's a really awesome dude, an awesome comedian, out of like cut from the same type of cloth of a Kenny DeForest, Southern type gentleman, but real fucking like just a good heart. Corey Ryan Forrester is part of a group of comedians called the Liberal Rednecks. They like sell out fucking shows all over now. And he invited us to a party. And that's another thing too. Corey wrote a great thing where he talked about meeting Kenny. He met him through me. They met once, friends forever. You know what I mean? Like that's the impact of fucking Kenny DeForest. Yeah. And why we all love him so much and why we're all fucking hurting still. Even though, there are people who are like, I haven't talked to him in 3 years. Why do I feel horrible? Because he was the best. That's why, right? And all that. So we go to this party. This feels like a party that Jonah Jurkens would have thrown back in the day. The party had a theme. The theme was bacon and titties. Mm-hmm. And we walked into it thinking, what's this going to be? And this was a very Cucamonga, Georgia. I think it's called a Chickamauga, Georgia. Yeah. I'm sorry, Corey, I'm butchering your hometown's name. The house looked like, if you would have told me to draw a picture of the house in this town, it would have been that exact house. Not a bad, like nice house, but like that style. You know what I mean? Right. We walk in and there's just plates and plates of bacon everywhere. And literally the idea was women would be flashing their boobs to get bacon. and it was a fucking scene.
Yeah.
But I remember Kenny was down for anything.
It always comes back to tits, doesn't it, Joe?
Always comes back to boobs, baby. I told you, man, tits are going to be the next thing this next decade,
Yeah.
right? It was all about the ass the last 10 years. This decade's all about the boobs. And so Kenny, that's the thing that so many people have been talking about too, is that he was the dude that if you were like, hey, fuck it, let's just drive all night to this town. He'd be like,
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, hey, dude, this party's called Bacon and Titties. You want to go? Yesterday,
course
I
I
want to
do.
go. Let's
Yeah.
fucking check this shit
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And we had a great time. We had a lot of laughs. And it was the best. So I think in closing, just fucking live like Kenny DeForest. Be welcoming to everybody. Make people feel good. Fucking, don't let little shit bother you. Work fucking hard. Be great to your friends. Go above and beyond whenever you can. Make that difference. And from a standpoint of us, fucking text your friends.
Yeah.
Like, if you have that moment where you're like, fuck, I missed that person. I haven't talked to him in a while. Don't tell yourself, I'll hit him up in a couple days. Hit him up then and there.
Yeah.
Do it immediately.
Yeah,
you know?
I walked out of that New York time with Kenny being like, I need to start texting Kenny a lot,
Yeah.
and then I didn't text him once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that just sucks. So don't let that happen to you.
Yeah.
Don't let that happen to you, folks.
There we go. All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to this Let's Get Sad edition of Let's Get Dumb. It was necessary. On behalf of Jonah Jurkens, our producer, Austin, check out previous episodes. So, follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel and all that good stuff. And Kenny DeForest forever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.